I got on every coaster at Cedar Point in under 3.5 hours, and here's how I did it. I got to the park at 2:59 and went straight next door to Raptor, which is right next to the gate. There was barely a wait, and I got right on it. This is a B&M invert that twists you in every single direction, and I love the huge helix at the end. When I got off of that, I went over to Gatekeeper, which is a B&M wing coaster. There was no wait, and I got right on. Gatekeeper has a crazy first drop, and I love the head choppers over the main gate. I then went over to Wild Mouse and got on by 3:38. Wild Mouse spins you in every direction, and no two rides are the same. Next, I went to Valraven and was in line by 3:48. Valraven is a B&M dive coaster that hangs you over the top hill. My favorite element by far is the barrel roll after the second hill. I was very surprised to see no line for it for a Sunday afternoon, and I got right on. I then went over to Boo Streak, and I just missed the only train that was running that day. The train came back, and I got right on. I then went over to Corkscrew, and there was no wait. I got on and off of this, no problem at all. On my way to Magnum, I had to stop to admire the really cool pumpkin display. When I got to Magnum, there was like nobody in line, and I got right on this. Magnum is one of my favorite rides in the park, and my favorite element on it is the first tunnel after the second hill. I then went over to Gemini, and I was at the station by 4:34. I got to Cedar Creek Mine Ride at 4:45, and to my surprise, there was nobody in line. This coaster has one of the most insane first drops in the park, and I love the maintenance shed pass-through. I then said hi to my skeleton friends and arrived at my favorite coaster, Steel Vengeance. This was one of the longest waits of the day, but it was so worth it. This coaster is wild, untamed, and hauls like a freight train through the course. I got in line at 5 and made my way to the lockers. After a brief delay, I got on and was off by 5:28. 4 minutes later, I was getting on Maverick. This is the only time I had to use my Fast Pass because this ride is popular and for good reason. It whips you in every direction and tries to throw you off. If you can't make it to Cedar Point, then go ride a bull. You'll probably get the same feeling. My favorite element is the crazy 92-degree overbank turn. At 5:48, I got to Millennium Force. There was a brief delay while waiting in line, and I got on at 6:08. This was a little over 3 hours after I arrived at the park. This ride has a 300-foot drop and goes 93 miles per hour. It's incredibly fast, but really smooth. I finished at Rougarou, then realized I still had an hour and a half before it closed. I watched a show, rode the train through Boneville, and finished with a night ride on Maverick and Steel Vengeance. I then walked the beach back to my car, knowing that I can finally say that